What up, book lovers? It is G-Swizz here, and I'm here today to talk about my Q2 TBR for 2023. I believe I haven't done one of these quarterly TBRs in a while. I'm pretty sure I did not make one for Q1, and I probably should have, but because my content schedule was really busy somewhere between November to January, February-ish, I didn't really bother. But overall, I really like making these videos because I can think about the short term rather than just the long term. I mean, I often make like yearly TBR videos and I make monthly TBR videos, but somewhere in the middle, you know, when we focus on the quarter, when we kind of look at the books that are relevant within this time period, I don't know, it just excites me in some sort of way. So I'm really happy to present this video today. And you might have noticed based on the thumbnail that yes, I have some familiar series on here, but I would also like to make a dent in my 12 friends recommend me 12 books challenge. I will also talk about those. I don't have physical copies of the ones that I'm going to be talking about because I've purchased the audiobooks. Because as I mentioned in my 12 friends recommend me 12 books challenge video, I would prefer to listen to these books on audio before making the decision whether or not to get like a physical copy, because I am unsure of whether they are going to be favorites or not. I'll probably go into that TBR before I go into my physical TBR. So I guess without further ado, let's get straight into my Q2 TBR, and I'll let you guys know why these books are relevant within this time. So far, just to get you guys up to speed, at the moment I have completed 3 books in my 12 friends recommend me 12 books challenge, and honestly I feel so good about that because obviously 3 months have passed in the year. I want to make sure that I at least read 1 book per month, or I keep up with this list. Either I'm ahead or I read 1 book a month. And so far the books that I purchased audio editions for are The Eyes of the Dragon. That one is by Stephen King. That one was recommended by my mother-in-law. I also have Finnegan of the Rock, recommended by a work colleague, Lies of Loch Lamora, which was also recommended by a work colleague, and finally The Nightingale, which was once again recommended by a work colleague. Those I had purchased on my Audible subscription. Actually no, I also have Ashes of the Sun. That's the Django Wexler one. I purchased that one ages ago, so yeah, it was kind of on my backlist in terms of my Audible picks. But the other 4 books that I mentioned, I had purchased as soon as they were picked on my Audible subscription. I do have to say that I'm nervous about The Lies of Loch Lamora due to its length and also the fact that the series hasn't concluded, but the colleague who recommended The Lies of Loch Lamora to me said that it could be read as a standalone. There are obviously loose ends that are yet to be tied, however it can still be read as a standalone. So I'm mostly intimidated about Lies of Loch Lamora for those reasons. It's just an intimidating book in general. However, I've heard amazing things about it, so I don't doubt that I will enjoy it. When it comes to The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, however, I have no idea whether or not I'm going to enjoy this. I am so intimidated by this one. And the colleague I had asked, and they had returned with this recommendation, they have very similar reading taste to me. So I was very surprised that they returned with this recommendation. I literally messaged them and I was just like, hey, you have a good taste in books, recommend me a book. And then she recommended me The Nightingale, and I'm thinking, I don't read historical fiction. This is so funny. But she said that it is really good and she would recommend it to absolutely everyone and that everyone needs to read it. So I trust her, but at the very same time, I'm intimidated based on the fact that this book is not what I usually read. I think with The Eyes of the Dragon, this one is actually the least intimidating out of the 4 that I've brought up because it's shorter. For some reason, I feel like I kind of know what to expect. In a moment of stupidity, I accidentally mentioned in my 12 friends recommend me 12 books challenge video that I had never read a book by Stephen King, and that is a lie. I've actually read the first book in the Dark Tower series. So based on that, I kind of know what to expect in terms of writing style. And I mean, the Dark Tower is technically somewhat of a fantasy. It's a fantasy western. I don't really remember much more about it. I mean, look, unfortunately, I also watched the movie, and the movie kind of tainted the way that I view the book in general, but I do still remember the writing style in the first book. So for some reason, it's kind of comforting to know that I know what to expect with The Eyes of the Dragon in terms of writing style. However, I don't know what to expect in terms of plot. But also it all comes down to the length of the book, and with that, I mean, I don't really have to worry. And last but not least of the 4, Finnegan of the Rock. I'm intimidated by this one because I've been told that it's dense. I've been told that it's a standalone with companion books, so I'm happy that I only really need to commit to 1 book, maybe? We will see. It depends on whether or not I enjoy the first book enough in order to continue. I don't really have much motivation motivation to read it. However, if my friend is recommending Finnegan of the Rock these days, and that book is considered a young adult fantasy classic, then that is how I know that it still holds up. I at least want to get to 3 of these books within the quarter. We will see whether or not that will change, whether that will increase, but one thing's for sure, I do want to complete this challenge, even though majority of the challenge is super intimidating for me. Anyway, let's go to the books that are less intimidating for me. I want to start off with Praise by Sarah Kate. So this is the new and improved cover, and this edition was published by Sourcebooks Casablanca. This book series, I believe, was initially independently published, and then it got picked up by Sourcebooks, and you know Sourcebooks/Bloom, they really love picking up independently published authors, especially the steamy romances. I don't know what their criteria is, but I mean, I'm somewhat living for it. I prefer this edition of Praise over any that I've seen so far, so much so that I even prefer this over the Fabled exclusive editions. I just decided to skip on those. I want to read this book in particular within this time period because Sarah Kate at the moment is coming to Babe 2023. I still probably need to make a Babe 2023 TBR. I have just been focusing so much on Rare that I haven't really been focusing on the authors who are coming to Babe. And I really do need to, because Babe is actually happening in my city. I don't know, I haven't been paying too much attention to Babe. Even though I'm excited for Babe, I think I'm less excited for Babe because I'm not needing to travel. And unfortunately, I just have general admission for the Saturday. I don't have admission for the early access Friday ball gown event, which makes me feel sad, but I mean, what can you do?
I also forgot to mention that I'm going to Babe alone. I'm not going with anyone, so hit me up if you're coming. Because, yeah, I think that's why I'm not as hyped for it.
I wanted to get this first book in the Salacious Players Club in the lead up to Babe, and I also want to read it because I want to experience something by Sarah Kate, and I've heard nothing but great things about the Salacious Players Club so far, so I am hoping to get to this sometime within this period. Doesn't mean that I have to commit to all books in the Salacious Players Club so far. I at least want to get to Praise. And the next book that I would like to read on my physical TBR that will actually be a reread for quarter 2 is The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. The sequel to The Blood Trials, The Blood Gift, actually comes out toward the end of April, so I need to get a move on with The Blood Trials. I am so looking forward to this reread because I loved it the first time that I read it, and I'm hoping to get more out of my reread, and I seriously hope that The Blood Gift is just as good as The Blood Trials because I don't know what I'm gonna do. If The Blood Gift suffers from second book syndrome, or if this series suffers from the duology problem. I have been anxious about this because I do like myself a good duology, and I reckon that this makes sense to be a duology, but at the very same time, I've been burnt before. Many times. So I guess I have to put a bit more faith in N.E. Davenport. I just have to trust that they're gonna deliver in The Blood Gift. I am so looking forward to this reread because I loved The Blood Trials and it was one of my favorite books of last year. I'm just hoping that The Blood Gift also makes my favorites list this year, and this duology can be one of my favorite series of all time. And getting back to authors that are going to be attending Babe 2023, I hope that Scarlett Sinclair doesn't cancel because I would really like to devour majority of the Touch of Darkness series before she comes, but you know what, if she cancels last minute, that's just gonna be devastating for me because apparently she was meant to come to Rare, but she canceled on Rare and she's going to Babe instead, and I just hope that she's not going to cancel on Babe because so many of my favorite authors have canceled on Babe so far. I think that's another reason why I'm less motivated. I am excited for Rare because I have like 10 pre-orders so far, but when it comes to Babe, it's a bit different. I've only pre-ordered from one author so far. A Touch of Darkness will be a reread for me. I've only read this book in the series so far. However, it will be my first time reading A Touch of Ruin and A Touch of Malice. I also heard that the finale comes out this year, and I was also waiting for us to be closer to the finale before I picked these books up, or at least I continued on with the series, because when I started A Touch of Darkness, I believe I started it like 2 years ago, I had realized that I wasn't gonna see a finale anytime soon. I knew that A Touch of Malice was coming out that year, but A Touch of Chaos was going to be released 2 years afterwards. So So I'm happy that I'm finally here, that the finale is upon us, so that I could essentially like almost kind of binge read this series. I'm the type of reader that just needs to know what happens next all the time. And speaking of the Touch of Darkness series, I also have the Hades series, which is a spin-off. It's technically in the same series, except all these books are from Hades' perspective. And honestly, I really do want to get his perspective, because when I read A Touch of Darkness, this is an unpopular opinion. A lot of people find Persephone annoying. I found Hades to be somewhat annoying. So I'm hoping that me reading from his perspective, I will sympathize with him a little bit more. I don't know, I just couldn't really sympathize with him in A Touch of Darkness. I understand that he was the bad boy and whatnot, but I think he was just too dark. I just want to see things from his perspective. I want to see how he cherishes Persephone. That's just my personal opinion. I'm hoping that these books will shape the way that I think about Hades within this specific series. So guys, I'm back on my BS. I am going to attempt to reread the Crave series in the lead up to Cherish. Except I'm not going to be reading it in this order. I am going to be rereading the Crave series in this order. I am going to reread Crave and then read Charm, but everything before the epilogue. And then I'm going to read Crush, and then Covet, and then Court, and then I'm going to read the epilogue of Charm right after Court. Because the epilogue of Charm is actually a cutscene from Court, and it actually happens right before the Court epilogue. It's a conversation that essentially gets cut off in the middle of Court. I am so excited to read it this way. I'm literally going to be reading Crave in chronological order because I'm a serious fan, okay? I love this series so much, and I know it's a guilty pleasure series. It's literally so cheesy. Sometimes it's slow, and sometimes we're just following school kids. Like, I know it's very slow sometimes, and the dialogue sometimes can be cringy, but you know what? I am invested in the plot. I'm invested in Grace's and Hudson's story, and I mean, look, after Charm, how could I not be? After Court, how could I not be? I do have to admit, the first half of the series is not the strongest part of the series. The second half, in Court and in Charm, I believe that is where, like, the series is its strongest. I mean, I do like Crush. I think that Crush, upon the second read, ended up blowing me away, and I actually did like Covet the second time I read it as well. I know it's torture, but for some reason, I just felt like my reread last year strengthened my relationship with these characters, and so I'm just so looking forward to doing that again. Look, maybe it will take some insomniac nights, maybe I will just inhale read them, maybe I will read them over a slow time. What I do know is that this reread is going to be a pressure-free reread. I'm just going to do it at a time where I feel like I'm in the mood to do it. I don't know whether I'm going to inhale read these books or whether I'm just going to take it easy. But one thing's for certain, I want to lead myself up to the end of May so that I can read Cherish when it comes out. I know, why would I put myself through that torture? I really don't know, but it's probably because I'm a super fan. Moving on. And the final book series that I've put on my Q2 TBR today, book lovers, is the Demon Queen Trials by C.N. Crawford. Now, I purely want to read this because I want to find a new fantasy romance series that I will absolutely love and enjoy. Essentially, I want to find my next favorite series of all time, and I am on the hunt for that at the moment, and I'm hoping that maybe the Demon Queen Trials would be a good contender. I also received my beautiful Fake Rate set. These editions, they are absolutely stunning. I am absolutely obsessed with the cover art here. They're so pretty. I cannot get over these. And what I also like about these editions is that they have gilded black edges, which is something I've never seen done on books before. I've seen them done on card sets, but never on books. Aesthetics aside, I've heard nothing but great things about this series in particular, so I decided that I wanted to pick this set up from Fake Rate, and I'm hoping that I love it because I do love myself a good fantasy paranormal romance. Once again, I'm just trying to find my new favorite series. Look, it's been so difficult saying that The Bargainer has been like the best that I've read in a while. I just need something that's on that level, and I don't think that this series is going to be on that level. I'm just going to assume nothing is going to be on the level of The Bargainer for me. However, I do want to give more fantasy romance series a try so that I could find my new bargainer. Because I constantly crave a reread of The Bargainer, it's getting ridiculous at this point. I do want to read things by C.N. Crawford in general, but maybe this series might be a good start for me. So I guess it's gonna be it for this video today, book lovers. If you happen to stay till the end of the video, leave me the green heart emoji. And if you happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet already. Join the amazing community of book lovers. And also, I have social medias. I'm at GSwizzleBooks on Twitter and Instagram, and I'm also Goodreads. That's www.goodreads.com/gswizzle. And finally, I'm at TikTok. I'm at GSwizzle on TikTok if you want to follow me there for some bookish content. I love you, book lovers, and I will see you later. Peace.
Started out with half and I flipped it into double. Started out with half and I flipped it into double.